morning. My name's Roger Overby. I'm with Skyway Capital Markets. We're very excited to be a part of Synapse today. Glad you're here. There's an energy in the building today that is, you can feel it. It's amazing. It's exciting. And the economic impact of the companies that are involved here today, we're gonna feel that impact for many, many years to come. Our role in this innovation ecosystem as investment bankers is to help companies grow, achieve their goals, and we believe that the Synapse community represents a key component of the future of Florida business, giving new and old companies a platform to collaborate and grow from. The state of Florida, and we know that the state has to continue to innovate. And we're seeing many blue chip companies in Florida that are embracing innovation, technology to meet their goals and expectations. And at the heart of a thriving economy is a dynamic education system. Our explosive growth has created incredible demand for talent, research, and collaboration. Today we're going to have a great panel that addresses many of those topics. Our world-class universities are the engines that are attracting and developing this talent. And this morning we get to host an unprecedented conversation with the presidents of Florida's leading universities, USF, UCF, and UF. Together, these three universities generate more patents than the Research Triangle in Raleigh, North Carolina, and more than the University of Texas system. They serve more than 150,000 students combined and have an enormous impact on our economy in the state of Florida. So joining us to lead this conversation is the CEO of the Florida High-Tech Corridor, which for the past 25 years has been facilitating collaboration between these universities and industry to drive growth and innovation in Florida. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Paul Soule of the Florida High-Tech Corridor, Rhea Law, President of the University of South Florida, Dr. Alexander Cartwright, President of the University of Central Florida, and Dr. Kent Fox, President of the University of Florida. Let's welcome the leaders of the Bulls, the Knights, and the Gators.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Paul Soule, CEO of the Florida High-Tech Corridor. I want to first of all say congratulations to Synapse on the proclamation. That was great to hear. A quick little background about the corridor itself. We're 25 years old. Part of why we're here is with the three presidents as co-chairs to be able to talk about innovation, to talk about how our three anchor universities are connected and what they do. And I will tell you, for a guy that spent 33 years in the Navy, if you would have told me 2 years ago that I would be sitting on a stage with the three university presidents and having a discussion, I would have said no way. But I'm here. We're connected with Synapse and Brian. It started out back in 2020, and I want to get started. So President Fox, President Law, President Cartwright, thank you. I know how busy you are. We got a chance to prep on Monday. As we started talking, I said, stop that. We're going to bottle it up and get going right now and have this discussion. So to start with, let me ask each of you, and Kent, I'll start with you, because there are a lot of things that you've seen in your decade at UF. So let's talk about kind of the state of innovation that you see at University of Florida, how it relates to your community, and really the state as a whole. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, Paul, thank you for your leadership of the High-Tech Corridor that really spurs and drives innovation across our three universities. And it really is a privilege to be on this stage with President Cartwright, President Law, and for me to represent University of Florida and be a part of this triangle of universities that are really driving innovation, not just in our regions, but across the state, and we would even say across America. I believe there are three ways that universities drive innovation, foster innovation, feed innovation. One is through our education, just the students that we graduate. And these three universities represent phenomenal students that are going out and changing the world. They graduate as innovators. The second is through the work of the faculty, the discoveries that they have, and you can see that in licenses, patents, you can see it in startup companies. And then the third is this ecosystem that we create. It can be through incubators and other ways. I say in all three of those, in education, and in the scholarship that results in discovery of knowledge, that results in new companies and licenses and patents and startups, and also in the ecosystem. Just in my 8 years at the University of Florida, I've seen a phenomenal growth across our state, all areas of our state, and particularly in our three universities. It's just amazing, and it didn't slow down during the pandemic. If anything, it accelerated.
Yeah, and that point of universities are open for business that I've seen in Florida, which is great. So thank you for that. Rhea, your perspective, I think, is unique. And for the audience to understand, you started at USF. You started in that research world, and then you went on in the professional world with law, and now you're back. So give us some thoughts, your sense of innovation, and how USF plays in that world as part of this larger ecosystem.
Well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about this because it's really exciting to me. I did start at the University of South Florida in the Division of Sponsored Research, handling all their grants and contracts. And to come back now and see the level of innovation, the new research initiatives that are going on is so exciting to me. I also see that we have become stronger because we're able to reach out to our partners. President Fox just said it perfectly, the three areas where we're really making a difference. But I think maybe the biggest one for now and in the future is our alliances, our ability to work together. This is not about competition. This is about co-opetition, as you indicated during our talk the other day. This is about our ability to work together. I mean, think about just these three universities. When I talk about research expenditures at the University of South Florida, I would tell you $581 million. But if I talked about all of the state university system, it's well over $2 billion. So think about what happens when we all start working together and what we can do to enhance the research productivity of not only our faculty, but to solve the problems of the world.
Yeah, thanks, Rhea. And I'm especially, I resonate with your thoughts about that connection with the community and the research that goes on, that often I think that there are companies out here and support organizations that really don't understand the connection. I mean, the fact that you're having a ribbon cutting on a building that faces Fowler Ave with all glass on front, to be able to have the community see the tangible results of the kinds of research that you're doing. So go ahead.
That's another very, very important part and reason that I'm so proud at what's happening at the University of South Florida. Our connections with our community, with our industries, is so robust. We're solving problems for them. We're identifying issues. We're helping them be successful with their businesses. And as you say, that new building is all glass. We want our community to be able to drive by on Fowler Avenue and see what's going on, to see and be excited about the research that we're coming up with.
Yeah, the other thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, and Kent, you brought it up as well, is the idea of partnerships. One of the things in the corridor, we're 25 years old and we're starting the next 25. And in the partnership world, think of how the corridor started. It started with an idea, a boundary-breaking idea of UCF and USF and eventually UF. If we connected, what would happen? What are those kinds of things that these three major ones, and I will also tell you that not only do we have these three, we've got 14 state colleges across 23 counties, we've got other universities that are involved, that are connected, and that idea of somebody had the courage to say, let's see what happens, to be able to connect. Alex, over to you on your thoughts, and again, you're another unique perspective. You and I came aboard about the same time, so a little bit about 2 years ago or so. Your thoughts on UCF and innovation and the ecosystem?
Yeah, about 2 years ago, we both started at the same time. you know, when we look at UCF, UCF was founded actually to be that provider of the workforce for the Space Coast, and it's always been extremely connected to a very practical, applied outcomes, and that actually is part of the DNA at UCF. If you look at our research park that's next door to us, we have a $6 billion modeling and simulation industry that our faculty, our students, everybody is completely engaged with and being part of that. So that innovation is just within the DNA of UCF. Everything that we do is really about how do we prepare people to take those chances and to do additional activities that'll help to grow the ecosystem. It's the work that we do downtown with incubators and with all of the other partnership opportunities. So when you look at UCF, we're really very much integrated within the Orlando region and with companies and with that ecosystem that is around innovation.
Yeah. Well, let me kind of pivot then a little bit. And one of the things I've heard here, and also the feedback from companies and support organizations and governments, is the idea of talent. Part of what you do is you supply talent. And if you put, you know, a pin in the center of Florida and realize that you've got over 500,000 students that are around, that's an amazing amount of talent. I'd like to understand, and if you could share, and this time I'll start with Rhea, I'd like you to share with us your engagement with that talent. How do you, I've got 3 kids, our youngest is a senior in high school who's looking at universities. The job landscape is tremendously different and pretty unknown. So as you think about a university in that powerhouse and developing that talent for these folks, your thoughts on that?
We couldn't do this without the connection with our community partners, without our industries. We have advisory councils throughout our university where businesses will come to us and say, this is what we need in a skill set for the people that we would like to hire from you. And we literally change our curriculum so that we're able to provide them what they need as they move forward. They also provide for scholarships and internships to prepare students to actually go into the workplace. I used an example the other day. As a lawyer, many, many times people would come into a new law firm and not have any idea exactly how that would work and what to expect. When you have internships with students, they actually are in the businesses that ultimately that they will either be involved with or the same industries. So they know what to expect. They can hit the ground running and they can be successful. Another area to look at is what happens as our technology is changing so quickly. Business needs change, and we have an existing workforce that's already there who now are not prepared for the new requirements of the job. And so we do upskilling for them. We will do training programs for our businesses to give them the skill sets they need so they can be successful in the future.
Yeah, if one point for the audience on this that resonates with me, and I have the blessing of being able to work with these 3 in my role as the corridor, so I get to have these kinds of discussions, is the idea that each of these universities is so much more than just, well, there's the 4-year degree, this is what you need to follow, and at the end, you'll get the degree and then have fun. Really what winds up happening that I've seen in a very different set of university capabilities than what I saw as a youngster. So Kent, to you, sir, about the talent piece and your thoughts of, you know, talent for the future, the kind of innovative things you're doing at UF to develop that talent.
Yep. You know, it really, really is important that our state be known, that our region be known, that our cities be known as places where there is a talent available to drive innovation, where companies can recruit that talent, where their employees can take courses, be a part of that ecosystem that's driven by superb universities like the 3 of us. And you all, I think there are, again, several ways that we do that. One is just attracting spectacular students to our universities so that they don't feel they have to go to some other state. And not just Florida students, but also we want to attract the best from other states to come here and be a part of this environment, be a part, again, of the ecosystem for our state. And we are universities where the number of applications is growing. People around the world want to come and be a part of our universities. And indeed, the whole system is one that is attracting increasingly a place where students want to get degrees. But then the second is once the students arrive, just providing them that education, as President Law said, that matches them with what they're going to be doing for throughout the rest of their lives. Not necessarily just the technical skills. I'm a computer engineer by background, but their ability to think critically, the ability to make a cogent argument, ability to adapt to a changing world, to be entrepreneurs, to be innovators. And I believe I have seen just in my years here at the University of Florida and part of the state university system, that match just continues to be driven. We actually have metrics that our universities follow in that area. And then the third, as President Law said, is to then have a career office organization that attracts companies that want to come and recruit our students, matches our students throughout their time with internships, with co-op opportunities. And that is indeed an important part of our mission as presidents, is to provide that opportunity for students to foster their education outside of the classroom through those other outside of the classroom opportunities. And that's really important to us. And you all, those of you that aren't part of the universities, can help us with that. You all can come and help take our students through internships or maybe even hire them.
Yeah. So that you highlight that access piece, and so now I want to kind of ask Alex, because I remember when you checked the board and you were thinking about, so what makes UCF special, and one of those things was access. And so as that plays into the talent question, your thoughts on talent development for this very deserving crowd that wants to keep the talent here in Florida?
Well, first I'll start off by saying that, as President Fox mentioned, we're very fortunate in that we have incredible students that come to our universities. That's where it really begins, is getting those amazing students to come to the university. Once they come to the university, then it's about how do we continue to develop them and allow them to then be more successful. I'm always amazed because of the strong connections we have with industry, the opportunities that people get. Kennedy Space Center, 29% of their employees have UCF degrees. We have a connection with Lockheed Martin where we have about 600 interns per year working with Lockheed Martin. That actually shapes our programs. So when we think about aerospace engineering, where we're routinely ranked the second best provider of aerospace engineers in the country because of the quality of those aerospace engineers, that actually is because of our connection to industry, because of the feedback that we get in those areas. And the last thing I'd mention is it's not just those areas, but it's other areas too, is our Rosen College of Hospitality, for example, yesterday had an entire Universal day. Universal Studios was there the whole day because they want to recruit our students. And they took over and had all of the performers there, including Shrek. Those things matter. That connection with what they're looking for is what gives our students opportunities to do things that are well beyond what they get at other institutions. And I would argue that that's why our Rosen College has gone from a college that essentially very few people knew about to now being in some rankings the #1 hospitality program in the country. That is because of those connections with industry. Our students get access to that, and we believe that we need to make sure that they always have access to the highest quality education. And that's true of all of our institutions. It's about the quality of the experiences that then prepare them for their careers well into the future.
Yeah. Let me share, I'm going to use this time for a quick break and share with you some data. I love data. Last Friday, we had a chance to sit down with the Florida Inventors Hall of Fame and induct some new members for that. And when I think of invention, and I think of patents, and I think of creativity, and there were inductees from each of these institutions and others, let me share with you 2020 data. And I'll set the stage a little bit with patent data because sometimes it's reported differently. So now we're talking about 2020 patents granted to universities in the top 100. So in And you have to realize that some states report it at the state level. California is like that. California is like they report at state level. Texas reports at the state level. So the top 4, University of California system, MIT, Stanford, and the University of Texas system. If you take these 3 universities and their patents, their inventions, their creativity for 2020, they're number 3. They're number 3. And if you add FIU and FSU, we're number 2. Part of what I've seen in this world, and Rhea, probably you as well, sort of as you get introduced back into this world of invention and innovation and solving those things, what that really means. I'm just incredibly, again, proud to be part of the corridor and have that kind of power across the region, across the state. It's just mind-boggling, and we don't share that enough. And I really hope to do that. Now let me dive in with each of you individually. And Kent, I want to start with you because I get to share with you some of my own aha moments in this 2-year journey of mine. You all got a grant in AI, and you're building a Hypergator 3. And one of the things that President Fox did was, if we leave AI in the world of engineering and computer science, that ain't gonna cut it. And so you drove, I want AI across the entire university. That to me was like, wow. Talk to this group and share some thoughts about what went into that decision and the results that you expect to see.
Yeah, it's a great example of how the business world, this world of innovation, can influence universities. So we have one of our graduates from my home department of electrical engineering is a co-founder of NVIDIA, one of the hottest tech companies in the world. And as a co-founder, obviously we've been building a relationship with him, and we asked him what impact did he want to have at the University of Florida. And it came down to he wanted to drive what we're talking about today. And so what he did was that he worked with his co-founding partner to donate to us, which is the highest performing, as of this year, highest performing supercomputer in the entire nation. It's an AI supercomputer, and we've made that available to the State University system and other universities around the nation. But within our campus, we promised to NVIDIA that we wouldn't just say, okay, now the faculty can use this for their research, which, as we've discussed, is important. But what we're going to do is have it influence every one of our undergraduate students, freshmen through seniors, as well as the graduate students. How are we going to do that? We're going to have required courses in which every student, by the time they graduate, will be what we call AI enabled. They'll understand how artificial intelligence is relevant to their discipline, the area they've studied. This includes the humanities, includes the arts, includes agriculture, includes medicine, you name the discipline. Now students will be graduating, they'll understand big data, they'll understand information and how AI applies to that. Robotics, all the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
And I've even seen how you are involved in K through 12. You're helping the state develop that AI literacy curricula, which allows our youngest to be able to converse, to be able to see themselves in AI, that AI is not something that just kind of sits out there. It's part of us, so which I think is great. Alex, let me go to you. So now I'm going to be a little unfair, which it's okay. Because you've been there now 2 years, I'd love for you to share with the crowd, and I can't imagine what it must be like to come in and sit down in the chair and say, okay, now I'm a president of a university. I'm sure you had an aha moment or two. I'd love to have you share the aha moment perhaps with the crowd. And the other thing I'd like you to share is, as you mentioned something on Monday about Florida universities being able to be innovative and take risks.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you share those thoughts with the audience.
Yeah, when I joined, it was April of 2020, and of course, that was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and we were basically shut down, and so I realized pretty quickly that you had to lead differently and everything was going to be by video, and I wouldn't meet my team for a while, and I wouldn't actually meet our faculty and our students in the way that I'd want to. So I'd say the biggest aha moment was to realize that it is okay to actually lead and talk about compassion and care and love, and the fact that we really do want people to be exceptional. When you start thinking about what's possible, it is always driven through the people who work for us. It is the people who are a part of our organization. It is our students. And I think that's the part about the innovation and taking a risk, is because when I came to Orlando, the first thing I recognized was the difference in the attitude, in that they had taken risk and they had been successful. And Florida has this attitude in general. It's a state that has constantly looked at new ideas, tried those new ideas, and had success. And when you start having success, you're much more tolerant of taking risk. And that success drives additional success. So what I really realized about our institution was that it was one that was willing to take some chances. Mm-hmm. And that's huge for research, that's huge for economic development, and that certainly is huge in education, because we can continue to improve. So that, coupled with our whole philosophy that, you know, universities of the future are universities that are inherently porous, people can flow in and out, means that what we want to do is see a university that couples directly with industry, and that what's happening is that the innovations and the time for innovation, all of those patents that you heard about that put us number 3 collectively and number 2 for the whole state, those can move much more quickly, and those can be commercialized much more quickly as we integrate much more with our industry partners. So I think that's really the future for where we're headed, and that's all coming out of the fact that we've got to figure out ways to continue to compete and to continue to take advantage of the innovation ecosystem that actually already exists within our universities.
Yeah, and I think it's probably, to that point, it's probably one of the least understood and about that innovation, those sets of ecosystems that are around here, that, and part of our job in the corridor is to get that word out, and as your students go,
I think what I would add is, and I think this is true, and I'd love to hear from Kent and Rhea on this, but I will tell you that our faculty are very connected, and I know their faculty are also very connected with our business partners. Our deans work pretty routinely with industry, and I think that just makes us stronger, but it also makes our community stronger. And I think all of us recognize too that we are inherently coupled to our communities, and we owe it to this community to return on the investment that they've given us to allow us to do the things we love to do. So it really is a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. So since you asked your partners here, and your thoughts on what Alex talked about in that piece.
Yeah, it's what's really special at universities is the fact that you have people that are dedicated to this education and scholarship and engagement with the community, our faculty, as we call them, and then students whose lives are just truly changed. And then what's magical for us is that we're in this state of Florida that as Alex has said and Rhea has said, is changing so rapidly for the better. I graduated from Miami Killian Senior High School 49 years ago, 1973. And at that time, I don't think UCF existed as UCF. And now it is one of the powerhouse universities in the nation. The same with USF. And the University of Florida was not the university it is today. And that is a reflection of our state. When you think about the future and where we want to go, I'm just so excited about how bright that future is, how positive it is. The progress of the past several decades has been phenomenal for our whole state. But we have the opportunity as a state and in the high-tech corridor and our 3 universities to be known worldwide as leaders, competing and excelling and beating some of the other places we think around the nation that may have that lead right now.
Yeah, thank you. And Rhea, Alex's thoughts on faculty, and again, you're in this, and thank you for taking the role as president of a university, I'm not sure what your aha moment must have been like when you got that phone call. And you might want to share, you don't have to, but I am interested in what Alex said about faculty and that connection.
Well, as you can imagine, I've been here for a whole 6.5 months, so every day is an aha moment for me. But it is a great opportunity to think about what we do and think about how when we do it together, we do it so much better. If you think about it, technology, the world around us is changing so quickly. There's so many new things that are happening that when a student comes to us, we are preparing them for a career that probably doesn't exist. But we need to prepare them and give them the background and give them the thought processes and the ability to do the research necessary to be successful. And we have to be able to do that quickly, and the only way we can do that is when we have all of our bright minds working together to figure out what is the next step. And I'll just give you an example, because right over at our little area is the individuals that came up with the 3D swab that was, that they came up with within a matter of days when it was found that in fact we didn't have enough swabs to do COVID testing. And it's because we partnered with our other universities, we were able to get the clinical trials done and the data done in a matter of weeks. That doesn't normally happen. It usually takes years to do clinical trials. In this case, we did it immediately because of our partners. And the result of that was not only patenting that particular swab, but being able to turn it over to the world. And as of just my conversation with them this morning, they said over 80 million of these swabs are out there, making a difference for our world in dealing with COVID.
Yeah, that impact piece for sure about what you're able to do, which I think is great. Now let me ask a question of each of you on the future. The corridor is 25 years old. It's been this great partnership. I'm interested in your thoughts of Florida 25 years from now, and perhaps what excites you the most about the path that we're on and what might be those things perhaps that your universities are working on as a strategy moving forward. Because and I will tell the crowd, another aha moment for me was a conversation with a company that had called us up and said, we'd love to do some research. We don't know who to do research with. And we said, great, we've got 3 great universities, we've got state colleges, and they go, oh, no. Universities are too expensive and it takes too long. Our mission is to disabuse them of that idea, because it's simply not true. What Rhea talked about the pivot was unbelievable. On COVID hits, I'm shifting, I'm able to do something else, and that happens all the time. It doesn't take a pandemic to do it. So that happens really all the time. So Alex, let me start with you about the future, the next 25 years, things that excite you, things that maybe UCF is working toward.
You know, whenever you think about the future, you want to look at your past, and UCF is an institution that in the last 25 years has probably increased its research expenditures about 6 to 7 times. So if we can do that again during the next 25 years, that'll be a great accomplishment. When I look to the future, I see a university that's different from universities of today. And I actually do agree with your comment that what will happen is that because the speed of knowledge generation is increasing so much, we have to also think about faster ways to actually move that knowledge out into commercialization activities. That means, of course, that we need to be much more tightly integrated. And that is going to be that future, is where you see our students and people from industry and from the government and others all working together collectively in the same spaces. And I think you're going to see that even more enabled by all that's happening online, is that there's no more limit on a physical connection, but rather you can have virtual connections that are then also integrated with the physical. That university is going to be completely different in so many ways than we are today. I do believe President Fox and his vision about AI, what is going to be enabled by AI, and how we're going to actually serve students will be totally different, and how we'll serve industry is going to be different. And we could have a whole other session about just what that 25 years from now looks like. But I think it's extremely bright here in Florida.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly that we're doing a lot of things in this state that makes it the right place to come to do business, that makes it so that we have the education system that then provides the talent that people are looking for, that we can even recruit additional companies. That's just going to allow us all to continue to grow and grow in quality as we go over the next 25 years. So I anticipate that these three institutions for sure are going to all be some of the very top institutions in this country in 25 years.
Yeah, so Kent, same question. As you depart later on this year when they hire a new president, and by the way, if you want to sign up for an electrical engineering class at University of Florida, you can have one from Dr. Fox. I'm sure he's a pretty easy grader, maybe. I don't know. Could be wrong. We'll see. Your thoughts on the future and where you see not only UF but the state going as well.
Yeah. You know, again, COVID has accelerated so many things, but one thing it particularly accelerated was the perception nationally of our state and innovation across our state. And companies moving to this state, startups wanting to be here, young people, senior people, everyone wanting to be a part of what's happening in the state of Florida around mainly innovation. Tech sector, biotech sector, financial services, you name it. And I believe that if I was to look back in 10 years or maybe 15 years, the state of Florida won't be thought primarily as a place for vacations or a place for real estate or a place for agriculture. That will always be an important part of who we are, but it'll be a place where people want to come and drive innovation. I really believe that is happening. Yeah. That is in our future. And what we need to do now is just continue to feed that machine, to keep that acceleration going. Universities have a key role. You all have a key role. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what's exciting. We're competing with the rest of the world. We're not competing with each other in the state of Florida. We're competing with everyone outside, and this is the place to be. And that's why I'm just so excited about the future.
Yeah, and to your point about it's not tourism or tech. It's not agriculture or tech.
No.
It's tech and these things.
Yep.
So if you think, and all you have to do is go out and see where their footprints are, and go into the vegetable fields and look at robotics and AI. Go into where they're doing amazing work in cancer research in USF, or as I equate him, in my mind, it's the mosquito guy. The guy that works mosquitoes at USF and a way to identify them just will blow your mind. The things that you're doing, Alex, in Creative Village and gaming and where that's coming from is just amazing. In the few minutes we have left, would love to get any last thoughts for this crowd. I know that for the next Synapse, I think what we're going to do is get another set of university and college leaders to be able to have this kind of engagement. But let me start, Alex, with you on thoughts for any last thoughts.
You know, what I'd say is that this state, and certainly the university system in the state, is something that is special. And I will say the biggest aha is I'm not sure everybody recognizes how incredible these universities are. The education that students get at our institutions, the faculty that they have access to, the willingness to actually think differently and maybe not be in that, you know, I don't know how many of you remember this term, but the ivory towers of universities, those don't exist here. And in fact, I think of us as being well beyond engaged universities, which is sort of a thing that people like to talk about. But we really are universities that are integrated with our communities. Mm. And I think you see that in everything that you heard here today, is that these are universities committed to the locations, the regions they are, but also committed to the whole state, and thinking about how we can have that societal impact through our work in talent development and certainly in innovation. So I'm just excited to be a part of this and be one of the early ones, only 2 years in.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Rhea.
The state of Florida has staked out a goal to be in the top 10 economy in the world by 2030.
Yeah.
And what that tells us is that we have such a great opportunity to be an integral part of achieving that goal in all the areas that we've talked about and some that we don't even know about at this point. I see in the future that there's the connection between our universities. No longer are we just a place where you send your kids off and they're gone for 4 years, hopefully 4 years. No, we are a place that is a continuing education opportunity, a ability to be thought leaders in areas that we haven't thought of yet, a way to solve problems that haven't become problems yet. And when universities are seen in that light, we no longer are just an educational institution. We're something much more than that, something much more robust and something much more valuable, not only to our communities, but to the world.
Yeah, thanks, Rhea. And President Fox, last thoughts for this group.
Again, what's happening across our state, whether it is indeed here in Tampa, Orlando, or Gainesville, or Jacksonville, or West Palm Beach, or Miami, it is phenomenal. I could not be more excited about the future. And also, just so pleased to be a part of this higher education system in the state of Florida. So if I could be partisan, I'll end by just saying, go Knights, go Bulls, and definitely go Gators.
Very good.
So thank you. Before we close, I'm going to share something with you, and we get to show a little video, because I think part of the beauty of Synapse is launching new stuff. I've been blessed to be in the next 25 years of the corridor. Over the last year, we've been really focused on kind of figuring out, with your help, where the corridor is going and really where the state is going. With the help of the presidents, with the help of industry, with the help of our state colleges and our governments to be able to bring that to fruition. So with that, what I'd like to do is cue up the video about where the corridor has been and where it is heading.
More than 25 years ago, visionaries from our region's emerging research universities set into motion an idea focused on harnessing the power of collaborative co-opetition to create a high-tech center of gravity along the I-4 corridor. That idea became the Florida High-Tech Corridor. Since 1996, the corridor has nurtured the growth of innovation in a 23-county region through an unwavering commitment to connect, collaborate, and convene partners across academia, industry, and in the community. As we reflect on our first 25 years and embark on our next, we're recalibrating the corridor's brand to reflect the promise of a region built on boundary-breaking collaboration, community-driven innovation, serving the underserved, and maximizing our resources to sustain the constant state of high-tech innovative growth. The rate of innovation is exponential, and if the evolution of Florida's techscape is any indication, exponential is an understatement. Through a constellation of industries, tech's potential drives the future of Florida beyond its borders and around the globe. For 25 years, the Florida High-Tech Corridor has been a force multiplier, working to unleash the exponential potential of the 23-county region we represent. Anchored by 3 of the country's top research institutions, the corridor converges and catalyzes the capacity of high-tech innovation and bright minds to generate a ripple effect that advances the lives of the people in the communities we serve. Powered by an ethos of collaboration, we align opportunities, funding, and resources in academia, industry, and economic development to unleash our region's X potential.
Your corridor and your university presidents, please thank them. President Fox, President Law, President Cartwright, thank you very, very much. Good job.